How's it going, YouTube? My name is Elvin Ninja 7, your resident Mistweaver monk, and I have here loaded up the PTR and Mistweaver monk to kind of do a deep dive on everything that we can tell from the PTR so far. That way you guys don't have to download it and put in hours just to learn what I can show you in just a few minutes. I'm also going to make this a more dense video with editing, so please like the video if you like this. Let's go and jump into it. For starters, taking a look at the tier set, it looks awesome, by the way. There's not really a clear-cut answer based on the substats that you're gaining from each piece, which piece is going to be the worst for each form of content. There's a lot of haste mastery. This one doesn't have haste, but it's big verse and kind of small crit, which is actually still nice in raid where we're going to be pushing haste on all of our other pieces. So it'd be nice to get a good verse sync from this one piece. Although there is this piece that's main stat crit, small stat mastery, I think we're going to go, like if you had the choice to choose 4 of the 5 tier set pieces, I would probably sit out on maybe the hands, even though it's a giant crit piece, which is amazing, or even the chest, because it's main stat mastery. Although that mastery doesn't really hurt your overall build, it's just that it's not worth taking this over all these other 4 pieces. Although, like I said, I don't think there's a clear-cut answer on which one's going to be worse. It's going to be up to simming and finding which pieces are better with what you have in your character. Staying on the topic of the tier set, the 2-piece is now going to add in Thunder Focus Tea to the spells that are going to proc your Heart of the Jade Serpent if you're running Conduit of the Celestials. What this means is that whenever you pop Thunder Focus Tea, you're going to gain that buff that's shaving time off of your Rising Sun kicks or Rushing Wind kicks, Renewing Mist, Life Cocoon, and even Thunder Focus Tea itself. Meaning that when you press Thunder Focus Tea, you're gaining 8 seconds of 75% bonus recharge rate from that cooldown, meaning that your Thunder Focus Tea effectively has a 24-second cooldown. So if I press Thunder Focus Tea and Renewing Mist, I'm gaining 8 seconds of that buff, and you're seeing my cooldown of Thunder Focus Tea recharge super fast, and it equates to about 24 seconds of overall time for the timer. So all in all, Thunder Focus Tea is effectively baseline 24-second cooldown with Conduit of the Celestials, which is pretty neat. However, that can go even further because you can now stack a bunch of effects that give you Conduit of the Celestial or give you Heart of the Jade Serpent and have that effect up for longer, making your Thunder Focus Tea just a rapid recharge fountain. And as I sit in combat trying to charge up some Shayloon's gift stacks to show you guys what I mean, I do want to quickly say that all of the stuff in this video is subject to change. We're still pretty far out, like a couple weeks out from 11.2, but I just want to show you the direction in which things are heading and all of the updates or all the things that we're getting in the future updates so far. All right, so now let me show you what I mean by we can stack so many different effects that give you that recharge rate, or not stack, but like layer them one after the other so that our Thunder Focus Tea can just keep recharging that cooldown. So what I'm going to do is first I'm just simply going to press Thunder Focus Tea to put it on cooldown and to gain that Heart of the Jade Serpent buff. And then the moment this buff ends, I'm going to double press Conduit so that we gain that buff on steroids. Bang, bang. Now we have Heart of the Jade Serpent ticking twice as fast. Our Thunder Focus Tea is about to come off cooldown already, so we're wasting some of the seconds of that buff. Let's go ahead and Thunder Focus Tea again. And then we can, once this ends again, from the Heart of the Jade Serpent from our Thunder Focus Tea, we can Shayloons to get it even further. I mean, you see what I mean. Like, we are about to get another Thunder Focus Tea. This was 3 Thunder Focus Teas in the span of, like, who knows how much time. Let's press it again. Boom. Okay, so, like, you can just shotgun or machine gun your Thunder Focus Teas. It's going to be a really, really fun time with Mistweaver in raid especially, I think. On top of all that, you know, I just showed you that you can basically maintain that Heart of the Jade Serpent buff for a lot of uptime. You're also from your 4 set gaining 15% haste during that 8-second window and for 4 seconds after. So you're basically, whenever you press Thunder Focus Tea, Shayloons, or Conduit, you're gaining a 12-second 15% haste buff on top of that 8-second cooldown shaving timer. So what you could do is, like I just had, you could have a progress bar tracking your Heart of the Jade Serpent, or you could make a progress bar tracking your tier set. So if you wanted to, you could, instead of layering your Heart of the Jade Serpent enablers based on that Heart of the Jade Serpent buff, you could just base it on that haste, and that way you basically almost, for a large uptime, you could have 15% bonus haste. which is disgusting on Mistweaver. What really makes haste so filthy on Mistweaver? Just baseline, like not even inside of your cooldowns, just to give you like bigger, rampier cooldowns. Well, notice how like most spells have a flat cooldown rate, like paralysis, for example. It cools down in 45 seconds. But there are some spells like rushing or rising sun kick slash rushing wind kick that have a scaling cooldown. How they scale, how rushing wind kick or rising sun kick scale is based on your haste. The more haste that you have on your character, the lower this cooldown is going to be. On top of that, just haste improves how many global cooldowns you can squeeze into like a raid fight, for example. So those two things coupled together, it means that all of this haste is going to be giving us so many more rising sun kicks or rushing wind kicks, depending on the build you're playing. And that is going to turbocharge our hots with rushing wind kick, with rising sun kick. So all of this haste really goes a long way on Mistweaver. All right, I've come over here into Orgrimmar to the quieter dummies that I don't think a lot of people know about, so that it's not as loud as it was in Dornegal. So I'm also, what I want to show you is all of that haste and how crazy it can get, but I'm also going to be highlighting one of the other new changes, which is the change to Vivacious Vivification. I'm just going to call this VV because I struggle to say it. I stutter a lot whenever I try to say this, so I'm going to call it VV. So this now, instead of having a rolling timer of you just get it refreshed every 10 seconds if it's been used, it's going to give you this buff of your next Vivify being instant and stronger after you cast Rising Sun Kick or Rushing Wind Kick. So every time I Rushing Wind Kick, basically the next Vivify I cast is going to be instant and stronger. This is going to be really strong in all forms of content because it's going to give us control over how when we get this buff, as opposed to kind of relying on that timer to luck us out. Also, it's going to scale with how many Rising Sun Kicks we can get off, which also will scale off of our haste and how well we're playing. So this is going to raise our skill ceiling a lot. It's not going to really raise the skill floor, I don't think. So it's going to make it a little bit more, honestly, a little bit easier to kind of understand because now you're going to have control over when this buff procs. So the skill floor, I think, is lowering from this change. It's just getting a big gap, though, which I think is very good. It allows for a lot of skill expression. So what I'm going to do is I have basically, I don't even know if this is my exact raid build lined up. I kind of just used what was already loaded up on the PTR and then tweaked it a little bit, but I'm going to be doing like a little Yulon ramp. It's going to be a little mini ramp. I have Lesson of Fear lined up, which will give us 15% haste after I cast Sheilun's Gift. I'm also going to be getting a haste buff after I cast Thunder Focus Tea and after I cast Sheilun's. You guys know from Heart of the Jade Serpent. We're also gaining another haste buff from Invoker's Delight after we cast our Celestial, so after we summon Yulon. And I feel like there's one more that I'm missing. Right? Oh yeah, why not? Secret Infusion, after we press our Thunder Focus Tea into a Renewing Mist, we're gaining yet another haste buff. So I kind of just want to see how hard we can push our haste. And then I also want to see, like, during our Yulon ramp, if we can get a couple of Thunder Focus Teas off. So I'm going to use the initial Thunder Focus Tea at the start of the ramp to give us a haste buff coming into that ramp. And then during our ramp, I'm going to use any Thunder Focus Teas that we shave our timer off of and I gain access to during the ramp. I'm going to use on Rushing Wind Kicks, so I can go like Rushing Wind Kick, Instant Vivify, Rushing Wind Kick, Instant Vivify. And also, in doing so, I'll be extending our hot. So just a lot of craziness going on. Let's see if I remember it all. Let's make sure. Oh, I lost all of my Sheilun's Gift stacks, so I'll be right back. Okay, 8 stacks is enough for me. These take so long to charge up. So let's go ahead and get into it. There's so many moving parts, so I'm probably going to do something suboptimally. But let's just get into it. So we're going to start off with Let's start off with Thunder Focus Tea first before Sheilun's this time. Normally I do it the other way around because Sheilun's buff lasts longer, but Thunder Focus Tea is going to be shaving time off of its cooldown, so I want it down quicker. So let's start off with a Thunder Focus Tea, Sheilun's Gift, Rushing Wind Kick. Now let's summon Yulon. Let's cast a few Enveloping Mists. Let's cast a Vivify. Oh my goodness, Thunder Focus Tea is already off cooldown. Vivify. Oh my gosh, I can't even keep up. Like, I'm literally double pressing buttons because of how quickly that instant Vivify comes out. I've already lost the plot. That is quick. Oh my goodness, our haste is insane. What even? Okay. I thought I could control it. I couldn't stop the power. Literally, my buttons were like happening so quickly. I literally lost where I was. That is disgusting. Oh my god, I am so excited for raid testing week. Actually, I'm not because oh god, I'm afraid of the numbers. I am absolutely afraid of the numbers. Okay, but you can see just how crazy our haste can get. Oh man. Okay, now you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate that, but instead of doing all of those steps and then doing trying to do a ramp, I'm gonna do all of those steps again just to see what our haste number becomes. And keep in mind this is PTR. I do not have optimal gear. It's just what started off on the PTR with me. I'm going to do all of those things again and get all of those buffs and see what our haste number becomes. So our haste number baseline, if we don't have whatever buff is giving us 2% haste, our haste number baseline is 23%. And let's see just, oh, I guess, okay, it's 25%. Let's see where we can go from 25%. So I'm going to do all of those steps again to give myself all those haste buffs once Yulon is off cooldown. And then we're going to see exactly where our haste is at with our tier set, plus Secret Infusion, plus Invoker's Delight, plus there's so many other ones. What else is there? There are so many haste buffs. Oh, this is disgusting. This is so much fun though. I'm like I am so excited. Like are we getting so many sources of haste? Is it going to be worth it to not push as much haste? Surely not, right? Okay. Here we go. Shayloons. Thunderfolk's Tea. Summon Yulon. What's our haste? Oh, that's so fake. That is so fake. 100% bonus haste. That is so unreal. That is so unreal. 124% haste. I have no words. That was insane. I mean, that explains why my Yulon was so hard to do, because I had so much haste that like my buttons were getting ahead of themselves. I mean, like, oh, dude, we're in for a fun time with this tier set. This tier set is very nice. Oh my goodness. All right, coming off of that nonsense, let's stop talking about that right now, please. I want to talk about another interaction that I thought would be really cool, but now that I was doing a long car ride yesterday, and the more that I thought about this, the more I was like, oh wait, it doesn't work how I thought it does. So what we're going to be talking about is the new Vivacious Vivification and our Thunder Focus Tea. So how we can enable this proc more often, or get the best use out of it, get some bursty heals in some Mythic Plus environments, or in some raid environments. So, I want to talk about its interaction with Focus Thunder or a T build. I know T builds are memes or PvP builds. They're not very good in Mythic Plus or anything, so I'm not saying this is the viability. I'm just talking about the interaction. So what I was thinking of is if we could run Focus Thunder, we could buff a bunch of Rushing Wind Kicks or Rising Sun Kicks, one after the other, giving ourselves a lot of opportunities to use these Vivacious procs. However, I do think of all the nonsense we're getting added, I do think this is where they could change something structural about Mistweaver to make it a lot better. So I'm going to Thunderfolk's Tea. It's going to buff my next 2 Rushing Wind Kicks, meaning that I'm going to get 3 Rushing Wind Kicks very quickly, one after another. Basically, I can Rushing Wind Kick, do another thing, Rushing Wind Kick, do another thing. So ideally, that other thing between each Rushing Wind Kick is going to be a Vivify, so I can cash in on this proc. However, I say ideally because you can't necessarily do that. That Vivacious proc will consume your Thunderfolk's Tea buff. So what I mean is I want to ideally Thunderfolk's Tea, then I would Vivify here. It's instant Thunderfolk's Tea, Vivify again, Rushing Wind Kick, Thunderfolk, or Vivify. I said the wrong word every time there. That's the ideal thing, is do like a little Vivify Rushing Wind Kick sandwich, right? But since Thunder Focus Tea still has Vivify listed, which why it still has this, no one, I don't even think PvPers, so like literally no one uses the free Vivify that you get from Thunder Focus Tea, because all of the other effects are so much better. I mean, I would have to be at actual 0 mana to Thunder Focus Tea my Vivify. So what I am saying is that I think this new change, this new tweak to how VV works, should it warrants them revising or reviewing how Thunder Focusy is worded to where it should now not be, it should not work with Vivify. um, because what because of how it shuts down this interaction. So let me show you what actually happens. Instead of being able to cast a Vivify between each one and getting 3 rushing wind kicks, we only get 2 because that the Vivify we cast will eat up one of those Thunder Focus Tea charges. So Thunder Focus Tea, rushing wind kick, instant Vivify. Rushing wind kick, instant Vivify, and then look, no more rushing wind kick. So I think this would be such a sick interaction. I would even probably consider playing it in Mythic Plus to get 3 very quick Vivifies and 3 very quick rushing wind kicks or rising sun kicks in Mythic Plus. However, once again, because Thunder Focus Tea lists Vivify for some reason, it's kind of shutting down some of the possibility, and that will basically it wouldn't work with the other 2 T's, but Focus Thunder is kind of the main T that you would play a T build with, or even you could play it alone without the other T's and have crazy interactions like this one. So all in all, pretty disappointing that Focus Thunder's kind of like it was the first thing I thought of, like, oh my god, it's gonna be crazy, and then once I realized, oh wait, Vivify's still on Thunder Focus T, it really showed me that it's not gonna be quite as crazy, but it could be. All right, next up, let's shift our focus from the nonsense that is going to be our conduit tier set and all the new interactions. And let's talk about the Master of Harmony one. I have a Mythic Plus build, whatever I had loaded up on the PTR before Season 1 or Season 2, I think, loaded up. I swapped to Master of Harmony, so then since I swapped to Master of Harmony, our tier set just now reads this. Now it's the new Master of Harmony tier set. So the 2 set is a little weird, and it might have a weird interaction depending. That's what we're going to test right now. So it says gaining Vitality has an increasing chance to cause your next Tiger Palm to unleash a Harmonic Strike. Or a Harmonic Surge. And Harmonic Surge is like kind of like a mini Chi Burst a little bit, if you want to think about it like that, but it's like AoE around you instead of a front line. So this has some very weird interactions. Number 1, it says gaining Vitality increases your chance. So basically you have a chance that's going to scale with how much Vitality you have. So as you build Vitality, you're going to increase your chances of this proccing. Notice that I don't have a buff at 0% Vitality. I don't have a buff that shows that we have a chance to gain this stack. So what I want to do is gain some Vitality now. And do I gain this buff? So now you see that I have Vitality. I have, a little over 1 million now. Where is this buff? Which one is it? I don't, so it's not shown in the form of a buff. Maybe it's being tracked like privately or something, so we can't really see. I guess it is showing off of our Vitality, but it doesn't say anywhere under our buffs. I would think that it would show somewhere. So let's go until we get this buff. Let's see, what is this? Mantra. As I build Vitality, what is this? Potential energy. Okay. So it doesn't show our chance of getting it, but we can see when we proc it. So this does mean that we could track, like I could put a giant weak aura here that basically says, hey, your next Tiger Palm is juiced up. But one thing that I want to test here is an interesting interaction. So as you read here on the tier set, it says that your Harmonic Surge is going to be dealing nature damage and doing healing. My question is it going to cast, or is it going to count as a spell that's going to consume all of your balanced stratagem stacks? So when you cast physical spells, you gain a stacking buff that makes your next nature spell do more healing and do more damage. Ideally, we use this. We try to stack up physical abilities, like I tried to Tiger Palm a couple times, so that my next nature spell will do more damage, and I can use that to buff my Jade-empowered Crackling Jade Lightning. That's the ideal way to use it. But will this surge, this Harmonic Surge, consume all those stacks and kind of waste them? So once again, I have to build my Vitality again to gain this Harmonic Surge buff. I should be at quite a bit of Vitality. Yeah, I'm pretty maxed on Vitality at this point. Okay, we gained the buff. Now I'm going to Spinning Crane Kick 5 times to gain this. I'm casting physical spells to make my next nature spell do more damage and do more healing. So I'm going to see, does this consume all those stacks? It does. It does. Oh, no, it doesn't. I don't know why. I think my buffs moved around. So it doesn't. Okay. Honestly, I was kind of worried that would happen. I was kind of worried that it would consume, but it doesn't. So now I could freely do a charge up Crackling Jade Lightning if I want to, and that works. which is really cool. This is really cool that you know, the tier set doesn't interrupt your balanced stratagem stacks. Although it says it's like a nature damage, and I get it. It's not a spell you're casting. This is just something that I'm worried about because there is a weird interaction still in the game where if you Rising Sun Kick, although Rising Sun Kick is physical damage, it consumes all of your physical stacks to do the nature healing of Renewing Mist, or something's going on there. So I was kind of worried that that interaction would not work, but it works good. I think that's in our favor. Unless Harmonic Surge does so much damage and so much healing that we would ideally want it to consume those stacks, I don't see that happening. But now I kind of do want to see how much healing this does. Okay, so I gained the buff for this. I'm going to clear my data on details. I'm going to fly up into the sky. Let me clear again. Fly up into the sky. Oh my god, I only have 30 seconds to use it. And now I'm going to jump off to take some damage. Hopefully this doesn't kill me. Okay, and then I'm going to punch, and we're going to see. How much healing did it do? Okay, it did 2 million healing. Well, it did 620k healing. Not bad. How much damage did it do, though? It did... It basically equaled my Tiger Palm damage. So the damage honestly isn't enough, or isn't like a ton. It's not a ton. The healing is like okay. It's definitely not going to be like what Holy Paladins have with Hammer and Anvil, where you basically plan around it proccing and stuff. It's not that juicy, but it is going to kind of add up and help a lot with maintenance throughput, in my opinion. I also want to mention that it says nature damage split between your target and other nearby enemies. So basically it's gonna hit for the same amount every time of damage. So whether I have one target, it's gonna split that damage to just that one target, or if I have like 20 targets, it's gonna split among the 20 and barely do any damage to any of them, I'm guessing. But notice that the healing doesn't say that. It just says that a baseline will heal 500 allies. So what we're seeing in the healing is that, oh my god, it got clobbered by Healing Elixir. But it healed me for 600 damage. But imagine I'm in a 5-man party or I'm in a raid environment and I cash in this proc. Then it would have healed for, you know, up to 3 million and like 3.1 million basically. So all in all, the heal proc isn't that horrible, and it does add a little bit more healing, like a little bit more passive healing to a tree that could use it. Although I will say you do have to build up quite a lot of vitality to get use out of this. I kind of hope, or you know, would see that with how crazy the Celestial Conduit side of things is, they could potentially up the rate that we're getting this to proc. That way it feels more rotational and feels more fluid. Because look, I still haven't gotten it to proc yet. I mean, I still have not gotten it to proc yet. So the proc rate is very low. The impact isn't that crazy. The numbers are kind of low relatively. So yeah, I do think this is a little underwhelming, but I don't know. I think with a numbers tweak, it could get there. However, to help with the low proc rate, your 4 set does give you guaranteed stacks of your Harmonic Surge. Now, this will happen after you press your Thunder Focus, so you gain 2 stacks. So I'm going to show that, but I also want to showcase if it can stack beyond 2. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to heal until I get a random proc of Harmonic Surge, and then I'm going to cast Thunder Focus Tea to gain 2 stacks and see, does it go up to 3? Do I get my next 3 Tiger Palms to be buffed? So let's go ahead and just start healing until we get that proc. Okay, we instantly got it there. Nice. Now let's press Thunder Focus Tea and see, do we go up to 3 stacks? Okay, we do. Okay, then I'm going to press Thunder Focus Tea and see, do we go up to 5 stacks? We do. Okay, now I want to see how many stacks we can save up. And now I want to see, okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to see just how many stacks we can save up. Okay, so I am just going to start healing myself to gain a bunch of vitality, and you'll see I've already gotten a stack. Can we naturally? Okay, we can. We naturally can get a stack on top of one another, so I'm just going to keep healing into myself, sitting at max vitality at this point. Can we? Okay, we do get a 3rd stack. How high can this go? Oh my goodness. 4 stacks. Okay. Now, okay, look, I'm kind of freaking out about how high the stacks can go, but while I sit here and keep healing myself, I do want to point out that very rarely, like never, should you just never press Tiger Palm if you're playing Master of Harmony. Tiger Palm normally tends to play with like Master of Harmony tends to play, okay, we went up to 5 stacks. it tends to play with a punch and kick build, like an Ancient Teachings, J-Fire Teachings build. So, you know, although I'm just showcasing this to see how many stacks of potential energy we can get to, not potential energy, yeah, potential energy, I do want it to be known that this is kind of, you know, a moot point. Like, it doesn't really matter how many stacks we can get to because we're never going to sit on Tiger Palm for this long. Let's Thunder Focus Tea. Okay, we went up to 6 stacks, but we didn't go up by 2, up to 7. So it's telling me now, I wonder if 6 is our max. Let's press Thunder Focus Tea again. Okay, so 6 stacks is the max. Say that 10 times fast. But yeah, like I said, very rarely would you ever sit on Tiger Palm enough to get up to 6 stacks. So it's cool to know, I guess, for those of you who just like random trivia, how many stacks of potential energy can monks get to with this tier set? It's 6, but yeah, I don't think that's really useful information. But hey, there we go. We tested the limits. That's what this video is about. But all in all, I think we've tested as much as I can think to test about this hero, or this hero talent tier set. I do want to say that I do think we kind of see how crazy high the limits of this conduit tier set is. But the way that I can see this from just the numbers that I'm reading and seeing on the charts is that I don't think this is going to be crazy. I guess if you do play Chi-Ji in Raid, you could play Master of Harmony now. I guess it definitely would not be as good as the haste that you're getting from the Conduit build, or just how much value Conduit gives you in Chi-Ji builds. But you could play that. That way you can just get more passive healing if you just want to play like super AFK Chi-Ji raid build. However, I think that this is just going to be one of those like smaller damage sources that you see on your damage charts. It's probably going to be somewhere between like a little a little above overwhelming force, depending on how often you can get it to proc in a dungeon. I guess that's going to determine where on the charts it's going to be, but it's not going to be a crazy damage source. The healing source, once again, you know, healing 3 million every proc, or basically 3 million every proc if you're in a 5-man party, isn't too bad. So depending once again on how hard it procs or how frequently it procs, it could add up to be quite a lot of passive healing in a dungeon. Nothing to break the bank though. But I do think that this build is gonna probably stay competitive in Mythic Plus, Master of Harmony. However, I mean, it's competing with a unit, dude. Conduit it's getting a lot of love from the tier set and from you know, the changes and stuff. So I think it's got its money cut out for it. But Master of Harmony, you know, if you can do a dungeon and you don't need the safety of Conduit, Master of Harmony still, I think, will give you a lot more damage depending on how much this haste can give you damage. So I don't know. Overall, I do think Conduit has passed with flying colors with its new tier set. In my testing, Master of Harmony is kind of falling a little bit short, if I'm being totally honest, but I have to see it in that test environment, which you guys will be seeing in videos following in the next few weeks as they open up the dungeons for us to test in. I will be making a lot of videos on, so just really quickly, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. But outside of that, I don't really think that there's much else that I can show you from my testing. However, if you guys think of anything, either let me know in the comments below things that you were hoping to see that I would test or just like tinker around with in this video, and I might make a follow-up. I might mention it at the beginning of one of the videos that I do of dungeon testing, or I might post it in my Discord, little clips of me showing each of your asked questions, I guess. But guys, once again, make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss any PTR 11.2 content. I'm going to be making it so that you guys can stay up to date on how the PTR looks, how each healer looks, coming into Season 3. That way you don't have to spend hours on the PTR. Let me do that for you guys. But make sure that you like this video if you like this format. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care, and dude, who else was blown away by the haste of Celestial Conduit? You know, if you're a Blizzard dev, hopefully you're not watching this video. I'm just showcasing what's in the game. That's all I'm doing. All right, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.